We might be too young to have a spotted cow, but we are both diehard Packers fans.
I could talk about this for hours.
He was my legend. He was my quarterback one. Taysom Hill, forever in my heart.
We have a kind of a reputation of being the young and diehard fans. How is that, Dr. Pepper Taysom?
Amazing.
Okay, good. Let's keep it under 25 minutes, all right?
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 84 of the Underage Packers podcast here on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere where you find podcasts and all of the great Packers content. I am Joey, one of your co-hosts. I am so excited not only to preview a great game against the Washington football team in week 7 of the Packers season, but I'm also ready to talk some trash, throw some stuff out there into the universe, because I've been seeing some things that aren't necessarily getting me angry, but I'm just like, you are entitled to your own opinion, but sometimes your opinion is just wrong. Big B, after that grand introduction, welcome to the show.
Yeah, can't wait for this one. This will be interesting.
You're just going to sit back and watch me unravel down a bad hill.
Yeah.
It should be a fun one.
Hopefully.
Before we get into any of that, I wanted to show off my shirt that arrived in the mail a few weeks ago. I meant to do something more with it when I first got it, and we were going to work on some more shirt designs, and I still want to work on that. But Aaron Nagler, thanks to him, we sent a sample to him. He's got his shirt, and he so graciously, so kind of him, to wear his shirt on Carry the G with A.J. Dillon this past Monday. So thanks to him. And so as to return the kind offering, I'm wearing my Cheese Head TV hat today, but I'm also wearing my long sleeve Underage Packers shirt here. It's like a math equation. Let me move my mic out of the way here. Dr. P's, Goats, Joey plus Big B. It's pretty epic, if I do add. You have yours, right, Big B?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
so I mean, if you wear it anywhere besides your weekly podcast gatherings that you have with your friends and family, it won't make sense, but that's exactly what the occasion is for. And I love this shirt. But let's head into this game against Washington. And also we'll talk a little bit about this Bears game, which we'll start off with since we aren't doing our recaps anymore, really a full episode recap. So many people have talked about I Still Own You because it is so epic. It's so legendary from Aaron Rodgers. But we have some photographic evidence from one of the news station reporters, local news for Green Bay, Kyle Mazon, who, by the way, also has some awesome content all throughout the season. He's been doing a great job. But somehow he got his hands on this picture of a lot of Bears fans flipping Aaron Rodgers off when he scores such touchdown. If you recall, Aaron said that he just saw one lady flipping him off when he ran in for a touchdown, gave Chicago the belt. But there is plenty. Kyle was able to find there's one guy in the front row there. And then, I mean, there's at least circles everywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that you can count of Bears fans flipping Aaron Rodgers off. So that just makes it even more legendary as I pop open a Dr. Pepper here.
Not sponsored, by the way.
Not sponsored quite yet, but let me see if I can give some ASMR here. That's probably too quiet. Okay, back to business. As I clean up my Dr. Pepper mess here. A lot of people flipping Aaron Rodgers off, and that moment will live on in infamy forever. Next up, let's talk about some good performances from there, because the first quarter wasn't too good for the Packers, as that seems to be a kind of a theme, a pattern, if you will, in these first 6 games. And then the offense kind of gets going, and that in turn allows the defense to make some good plays. But, you know, we mentioned offense and defense, but you know who doesn't get enough love for a great performance against the Chicago Bears? Special teams. Maurice Drayden's unit on special teams, Corey Warhawk was Boho Blast. Congrats to Peter Bukowski and Michelle Breton for getting that nickname officially recognized by the Packers. Boho Blast. I'm loving it. Not trying to make any company feud here with using McDonald's saying and Taco Bell's product. But Corey has an 82-yard punt. We're all the way backed up in our other end zone. He boots it down there. And look, I have to address our friend Corey Benke because,
Oh boy.
God bless him, very, very kind soul, but he's also a notorious punter hater. And especially if it took a draft pick to acquire a punter, he will hold said punter to very high standards. He has these grades. For punters, he has his instant reactions to every punt from Corey Warhawk. And this punt that traveled 82 yards ended up in the end zone, unfortunately. So really 62 yards. And Corey Benke has the audacity to say, yeah, that's not an A+. That's really nothing special. It's not that cool. It's still only 62 yards, and that's an opponent 20. If he wanted an A+, he should have had it at the 1. Corey, I'm sorry to tell you, you're wrong. I don't care if I'm risking any future invites to the crib. But you're just wrong on your takes about Corey Warhawk. It's a great dude. He's a great punter. More importantly, a great dude, though.
I'm sitting this one out.
All of the episode?
No.
Just your thoughts on Corey?
Yes, because I still haven't been invited to his house yet, and I kind of want to go there. So how it is.
Yeah, and then you'll just be able to let me in through the back door.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, defense. Talk about defense here. Okay, I tweeted out after this Monday after the game. I said, "Is this Joe Barry defense good?" ? It's just so new, so different of an idea that a Green Bay Packers defense would be good at the very least. Like, I'm so apprehensive to say it. Like, is my brain watching the same game that is actually happening? Am I processing this information as to what's actually happening? Is Joe Barry's defense good, Big B? Tell me I'm right.
It is very good.
Very good. We're throwing that out now.
Yes.
Based on the stats, it's very good. They're fourth in yards allowed. Just like last year they were 9th ranked. And I don't know how much that had to do when they were able to turn on the gas in the latter half of the season. But Joe Barry's defense, they're playing pretty well. And
other than when they get inside the 20,
yes,
that's
we'll talk about that. But
yeah,
Big B, who do you think?
Yes.
I'm going to say, what's your answer to the player most important to the Packers' defense success right now?
Devondre Campbell.
Cheers to that. Number 59, man. I like at first, week 1, week 2, like, oh yeah, he's better than I thought he was. Now we're here in week 7 and we're like, Devondre Campbell is this defense's best player these past few games. Maybe that's a little bit overarching, but he's commanding that defense at middle linebacker, one of the most important positions on the defense, probably most important as the guy with a headset, Yeah. And now with Jair Alexander out, Zadarius Smith out, 2 of the great leaders. They're left Kenny Clark. There's plenty of great players, but Kenny Clark and Devondre Campbell are really the 2 with the strongest veteran voices. Devondre Campbell, was he the highest graded inside linebacker on Pro Football Focus?
Correct.
Sure was. So, I don't know if Devondre just sticks around with a team this year, wins the Super Bowl, and then 20 years from now, we'll be talking, hey, do you remember Devondre Campbell? Dude that we signed in June in the depths of the offseason, the haze of the offseason where we didn't know who our quarterback was going to be. Comes in there. It's a guy with some freakish eyes from Atlanta. And now he's here playing some great football for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've talked about Devondre every single week, but I love him. Love what he does for this team.
Yeah, and I don't think we would be at 5-1 without Devondre Campbell in the middle of the defense. Like he's played that well.
Yeah.
And I remember when we signed him, people were saying, he's going to be a little bit better than Blake Martinez. No, he is way better than Blake Martinez. He is better than Blake Martinez would ever dream about being. Okay.
Better than
I
Blake
think that made sense. I don't know if that made sense, but it makes sense. All right.
Better than Blake Martinez, better than Christian Kirksey.
Oh, yeah.
And he's definitely been, and he really quickly, you see why. I know a few weeks ago I said, well, now it's looking like we should have kept Kamal Martin. And I still think there's reason to believe that, but there's reason also to see they did not need him in there for any reason to start like many people suspected he would be on this team. And so let's see. I just talked about Zadarius being out with injuries, but the Packers have a lot more injuries than just those two players. They're finally getting David Bakhtiari back. Elton Jenkins is recovering, but Josh Myers went down. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is on injured reserve. A lot of other starters, and then also some just key depth guys. Like if you pay attention to Twitter and like all the film analysis that are actually smart, like Ross Uglum,
Yes,
you realize that this team is hurting without Dominique Daphne. They have to change what they're doing on offense because they're without Dominique Daphne. And I'm not saying that as a insult or a comment on how bad Green Bay's offense is, because they're not bad. I'm saying that more to the effect of every single player plays a really key part on this offense. There's so many moving pieces on this offense, Matt LaFleur's offense, that just a guy like Dominique Daphne being out can really end up changing a lot of what they're trying to do on the offensive side of the ball. So this team being able to recover from a buttload of injuries is awesome to see. And I know a lot of people, game against Cincy, game against Pittsburgh, and I'm sure in these next few weeks when we have to face some tough teams, there's going to be some people who are saying, oh my God, this is just like 2019 where we're winning games, but it doesn't look good. Oh my God, we're going to get embarrassed in the NFC Championship game again. But look, if every single one of these next 5 games where they are still dealing with few injuries, some really tough opponents, if they win ugly, I don't care. I only care how the Green Bay Packers are playing in December.
Yep.
They can make it look pretty when it comes to then. And just keep on crawling by with whatever you can, even if you have to be carried by Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. I don't care. Win the dang game, all right?
Yeah. Like right now, we are just compiling as much wins as possible. It really don't matter until you're in December and January and then February.
Exactly. And man, what I've been thinking about lately, and I found your tweet hilarious because while the idea of it is absolutely absurd, but I get exactly what you're saying when you said, like right after the Bears game, man, this season is going by so fast. I don't want it to end, as if we were nearing the playoffs. I'm like, dude, we aren't even through a quarter of or probably through a quarter of the season now, but we're not even halfway through the season. Like, it's absurd to be saying, oh my God, it's about to end. I already miss it. But at the same time, it goes by so fast.
I know.
We're already almost into that November stretch where, and I'm sure the graphics teams at Fox are already getting their graphics ready on Aaron Rodgers' record at Lambeau Field in November and December. They're so
Oh,
hyped
boy.
for that little November stretch where they get that momentum going, and then December they assume, and all of a sudden, really in 4 weeks we'll be talking MVP race, playoff races, all of that fun stuff. I cannot wait for it, but I am also trying to appreciate every moment that I can of where we are now in week 7. Okay, now I almost skipped
Okay.
my very thing that I'm so excited to talk about. So, Packers signed Whitney Mercedes. I'm so excited for him. 31 years old. I think he's going to come in here and do some good stuff. And me and Big B already put a video out on that. But the thing that I wanted to talk about is this the stupid take. Well, I won't say stupid because I don't want to be such a, I don't know what the word is for it, but such a jerk. And it's like, if you don't agree with me, you're just stupid. And it's very kind of unsophisticated, I guess, to say these people are just stupid. I think a different way than them. But the thing that has been annoying on Twitter is this idea, they signed Whitney Mercedes, they signed Jalen Smith, 2 veterans, and people all of a sudden are going, oh my God, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, Brian Gutekunst is putting together a super team. He cares about winning now. Oh my God, they are all in. It's the most all-in team I've ever seen. I know I hated you, Brian Gutekunst, in July, but now we're here in November, and I'm like, oh my God, you signed 2 veteran players, one who sucked in Dallas and another who's 31 years old. Oh my God, Brian, you are the greatest man to ever walk planet Earth. You could probably walk on water. Nancy, that was maybe a little bit of over an exaggeration.
A little. Jeez. Alrighty.
But, oh my God, these people that think, and this isn't even really about what you think about Jalen Smith or Whitney Mercedes, but, I mean, they're not anything special. But I just find it so funny that people see these moves and like, oh, I know those names. They must really, oh, wow, they're really all in now. What? Those are the 2 moves that you point to? Those are, and then also the idea of, Aaron Rodgers came in here, he had a stern chat with Mr. Gutekunst, and he changed the culture around, and we're already seeing the impacts of that, folks. The Packer way has changed, as if Brian Gutekunst hasn't notoriously, over his first few years here, made these key mid-season signings. I'm just not buying into this idea that Aaron Rodgers convinced Brian Gutekunst to sign veteran players as if that wasn't already in his inventory of moves.
A reason why I think people are saying this, not mostly about Aaron Rodgers, this whole Aaron Rodgers deal, but just because they're names people have heard of. They're names that have been good for like 2 years ago. They're okay now, got cut by 2 franchises, and now the Packers signed them because there's like 15 people hurt on the team.
Yes.
In that position alone. And now, they're just names that people have heard of.
Exactly.
Heard that they were good at one point.
Right. Yep. Jalen Smith, high draft pick just a few years ago. And you really hit the nail on the head there, and much better summarized what I was trying to say there. They're names that they like to see. And I'm not saying that Whitney or Jalen won't be good, but exactly like you mentioned, they are no different skill set. They're brought in for no other reason than Rasul Douglas or Joe Schmo is brought in. It's because of the injuries they have at depth. They feel these guys can start for them. They feel they can rely on them. But the reason people are getting so excited about these moves is because of the names. And that point I hit on lastly, there is little, that was not an exaggeration. Maybe them calling Brian Gutekunst the greatest person to walk on planet Earth, that might have been an exaggeration. But there are literally people that I see that I know this offseason, they were like, oh my God, Brian Gutekunst is just incompetent. We need to check him into a mental hospital. Excuse my use for hyperboles here.
I know exactly who you're talking about too. Which
Yeah,
is
there's
the
one
funniest
specific
part.
person in mind, but there's definitely others too.
Yeah.
And then here we come over here. They signed 2 veterans, and they're like, wow, my mind has really changed on Brian Gutekunst. I got to tell you here. So that's just funny to me. I don't get Jalen Smith and Whitney Mercedes confused for these dynamite moves that the Packers are risking it all for.
Yeah, and these moves are literally no different than signing Damon Harrison and Jared Valdir last year, even though Valdir didn't even play for the Packers last year.
Right.
They're literally pretty much the same thing.
Who was Jared Valdir is brought in because Dave Bakhtiari is out for the season. So
yep. And then catches COVID and never plays. But besides the point.
That was so disappointing, man. If Jared, who knows? If Jared Valdir was in there, maybe the Packers win the NFC title game. And we get to have a great story.
Never know.
That's the Jared Valdir story is one for the ages as well.
Oh yeah.
That's when you tell your grandkids. Finally, want to talk a little bit about this offense, and then we'll get to the Washington football team. 2 players that I'm really excited to see get more involvement in this offense are Kylan Hill and Amari Rodgers, 2 draft picks from this year. I saw Kylan at the start of last week's game have a nice screenplay out of the backfield, made some nice yards after the catch. And then Amari Rodgers has increasingly kind of like we tend to see with rookies, and then how he predicted his trajectory of playing time would go. Each week, it seems like he's getting more and more snaps. It started in that Steelers game, and it just matriculating up, and all of a sudden, week 17 comes and it'll be a pretty vital part of this offense. So I like the jet stuff with him. I like the motion with him, using him as a blocker for Amari, and then Kylan also having some really nice plays as a kick returner. Amari a little bit slow to learn the grasp of things at punt returner, but those 2 rookies, I'm really excited to see them get more involvement on the offensive side of the ball. Now, let's head into this game that will be played at Lambeau Field this Sunday as the Green Bay Packers. The title of this episode is going to be Reppin' the 50's while dropping 50.
Oh man, what a title!
Yeah, I'm
Did
sure.
you just come up with that, or
what?
Did you just come up with that on the spot, or
No, I was like, I need to have a title for this script, and it's just what I put in there.
I was gonna say, if you just thought of that on the spot, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, but they're repping the 50 throwback classics. They look pretty sick, I gotta admit, and I'm really excited because you can see. What was I gonna say? Well, to see how they actually look on the field, because jerseys look so different, especially with new injuries. People like to have some instant reactions. And then once they get on the field, they look a little or a lot different. So I'm excited to see how they look on the field. But they look pretty sick. They look pretty sick to wear, and I wish I owned one.
Yeah.
Might have to set that up. But so Packers, they're going to be repping the 50s, and they're going to be dropping 50 points. So Washington football team, they've had a disappointing season, anti of what people thought. Many people thought their defense was going to come out here and put the ground lock on some offenses, and clearly last week when the Chiefs beat them 31-13, their defense did not show up, and their defense still isn't bad, but they've had their up and downs. And last week specifically against Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, fellow State Farm guy, they just could not stop big plays. And we saw, even with Marquez Valdes-Scantling out for the Packers, when they struggle with red zone efficiency, moving the ball past the 15, the thing that has kept them in games and ended up winning them games is just the big explosive plays. Like I said, even with MVS out, Aaron Jones is able to break off one every so often. Devontae Adams is going to get a lot of yards after the catch. So Washington football team struggling with some stopping the big plays against Patrick Mahomes is definitely something to watch in this upcoming game. Their front seven, like I mentioned, it's still very good. They got a lot of talent with Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, and Chase Young. There's 3 first-rounders there. They also have Matthew Ioannidis. So, once again, man, I don't know when this break comes. When are we ever going to play a team where we're like, I mean, their defense, I mean, it's just all right.
Yeah.
Like, I feel the last 4 opponents we've had have had some of the toughest defensive line. You had Cincinnati, who both of us didn't think too much of, but then we realized, man, they got some talent over there. Pittsburgh, 49ers, Chicago. Now they're going up against Washington. Next week, they have 2 of the best in the league, just absolutely mind-blowing, Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. And then they kind of get a break against the sucky Kansas City Chiefs defense. But just another week here where the offensive line more than likely out without David Bakhtiari, definitely without Josh Myers, another tough challenge for them. For the offensive side of things for the Washington football team, you have Taylor Heineke, who had a really nice game, really nice second half game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs last year. But this year, he's proven he is what he is. He's an undrafted rookie from the XFL, and you know he's not bad. I mean, I think he deserves to be a backup at the very least. But right now on the season, he has 9 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Big B, I know you're like me and don't care about the Washington football team that much. Don't watch them. But what are some thoughts you have on this Washington football team?
Washington football team. Man. Yeah. Their defensive line, like you said, is very, very good. Very, very scary still, even though their defense has not been great. Last week they had what was it, like three sacks, like 10 quarterback hits still against Patrick Mahomes. That defensive line can create havoc very, very easily, but their DBs are just not spectacular at all.
Yep.
That's where we're gonna have to take advantage of this defense.
For sure, and that's where Washington has to take advantage of the Packers. Kevin Keene is currently listed as questionable. Jair Alexander is still on injured reserve. So now, no matter what you're looking for Washington, you're either looking at Eric Stokes and Rasul Douglas or Kevin Keene, Eric Stokes, and Rasul Douglas. So both teams are going to have to be looking at those cornerbacks. Speaking about the injury report, Kevin Keene, Darnell Savage, Preston Smith, all questionable. Big B, I'm sure, tell the people how many games Preston Smith has missed in his career. 0. And this week is a particularly big week for him, as it is his revenge game against his former team in Washington. Also a revenge game for Joe Barry, man. He's the defense coordinator, 32nd defense in the league for Washington, man. He's coming out. Revenge game for Joe Barry, man. Showing them what they were missing out if they just held faith in him for just one more season. And then, like we mentioned earlier, Josh Myers, Dennis Kelly, both ruled out. For the Washington football team, they have a few injuries with Samuel Cosme, offensive tackle, Brandon Sheriff, all-pro offensive guard, Cam Sims, wide receiver, and Curtis Samuel, also a wide receiver, out for this game. Terry McLaurin was on the injury report this week, but fortunately for Washington, he was removed today. So Scary Terry, he has that nickname for a reason, and not because he wears scary costumes on Halloween. Finally, for Washington, Antonio Gibson is currently listed as questionable, who, outside of McLaurin, is really their big hope for them on offense. So McLaurin is playing for them, so that's big. But Gibson, 357 yards on the season and 3 touchdowns as a running back, currently listed as questionable. So that is certainly something to watch when the injury reports come out. Big B, any other analytical thoughts on Washington before we get to our friend's Aaron's question that she posed to us?
Not really. But I'm very excited that well, I shouldn't say excited because he's out, but Curtis Samuel not playing, that's big. I was actually very, very nervous about that matchup. He could very easily wreck the game as well for the Packers defense, especially if they're paying more attention to Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, good point, especially with these beat up corners. That would be quite a handful of wide receivers to handle. Now, to our friend, we asked Twitter if anybody had any questions, any starting points of discussions that they wanted to bring us. We got one about Chucky the doll, which we're not going to answer. But our friend Aaron asked us your picks for the new name of the Washington Football Club. So, there's been a lot of controversy, a lot of picks about this, and some people, they go with idea of they want to keep the red or the R in the name, just to keep it familiar to fans, not too different. Others want them to go with an alliteration of the two W's. I really, I haven't thought about this too deeply. There's people that want the Washington Warriors, Washingtons. I was thinking, oh yeah, I was like, oh, they're in Washington D.C. Presidents, whatever. Oh, most iconic president was George Washington. Could name their team after them. Oh wait, the city is named after George Washington too. That kind of is a little bit of a problem there. Big B,
Yes.
I mean, let me think about this for a few seconds here. What you got any nominations?
Well, going off the president side, Washington Lincolns would be sounds pretty decent. I just
Not
came
bad.
up with that in my head. That sounds pretty decent for a football team. It's better than football team as a name.
Yeah.
That's
If
about
they
it for
keep
me.
Washington Football Club, like I think I saw somebody have that broke the news. Or like, apparently Washington Football Team is seriously considering Washington Football Team as their full permanent name, which would be ridiculous. All right. Yeah, I don't know if I really have one. Warriors, it's too iconic with Golden State. Capitals, Senators.
I heard Red Wolves as well as one.
I like that. The R is definitely going to be one of Washington Riots. That'd be really fitting.
Oh my. I don't think you want to go there, to be honest.
We won't travel down that avenue.
Yeah.
Well, then, I think that's where we're going to end this episode off. It should be a fun one against Washington. I don't know if we'll be doing a live stream or not, but tomorrow, Saturday, Big B will have his 3 keys out, and I should have a video on my 3 X factors for this game. I'm looking forward to it. Let's move on to 6 and 1. Me and Big B will be back here Tuesday to recap Washington, and then on a shortened week to preview the Cardinals game. Any final thoughts you have, Big B?
Go Pack Go.
That's right. I'm looking forward to this weekend, popping open a Dr. Pepper, forgetting about the rest of my worries, and just soaking up all the football. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow us on all the social medias. We'll talk to you later. Go Pack Go.